Hello, guys. Praise the Lord, beautiful saints, once again. I'm coming back today because this story was actually about Abraham, and that was the next story in the Bible. And basically, it actually was befitting because Father's Day and it's tomorrow, although it's not but it's something that it's a day that we picked here on earth to celebrate or honor our fathers. And so it is very important, it's very significant. Along with, we must honor our first Father, our Creator, our Heavenly Father. And He's the best Father you can ever have for those who have fathers or in their lives and those who don't. Um, God said He's always your Father. He's a father to the fatherless, a mother to the motherless, because He's our creator. He's our number one Father. He's the creator of everything. So He's the Father of everything, our Abba Father. So, Abraham, Father Abraham has many sons and daughters, or whatever. It's cute. But I'm going to go into Abram, who became Abraham. And as we look at this woman, ladies, please understand, I already know how this go, but the man was made first. I'm sorry to burst your bubble. The covenants were made with the men. From what I can see, all of the leadership roles were them because they were here first. And they are the head and they are the priest of the home. I mean, things have changed in the worldly sense, but in the heavenly realms, in the godly sense, no, because what God says and how He originated it is God, the husband, the wife, then the children. So we must understand that that is the natural order of things. And we will see how throughout the Bible, few women were mentioned because that God dealt with the men. He dealt with the leaders, the heads, and this is them and what they're called to do. This is what they were born for. And so, into Abraham. Hold on, let me fix my screen. And I'm going to go into this message because more than likely I'll be with my own dad tomorrow. Spending time with him. So I would like to go on ahead and get it out. And okay, so this is where I'm in Genesis chapter 12 now. We just left 11. And this is after the Tower of Babel. And we're going to go into now. The Lord said to Abram, go from your country and your kindred and your father's house to the land that I will show you. And I will make of you a great nation. And I will bless you and make your name great so that you will be a blessing. Remember, so you will be a blessing. He blessed them to be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you. And him who dishonors you, I will curse. And in you and all the families of the earth shall be blessed. Amen. So this is where the covenant, the promises started. So Abraham went. It was him, Lot, the wives, and his nephew Lot. So we're going to get into this because these are the fathers, okay? These are the men. They're making moves. They're making promises, covenants. They're working with God. This is how everything, the foundation is started with throughout everything. Adam was made first. Noah, you see, all of them that were men. They were powerful men. They were godly men. And there's something about men having a relationship with God. This is so important. We need our men, and we need our men to be the priests of the home as they're called to be the heads and to lead and to guide and to protect over us and our children and over the world just in general, because that's who God called. He gave them the power and dominion. So I'm going to get into it. First thing we see here is him calling Abram out from his people. And usually God is about to do something with you. He's going to remove you from whatever's going around you. He isolates you so that you can focus and commune with him, so he can give you his information as to where y'all are going and what y'all are doing. And then he gave the command to move. So then after he gave the command, he gave him the promise. So, and after that became it was his obedience to the command that brought about the promise. Because although God can call us and tell us, we have to be obedient to what is going on. But always obedience is better than sacrifice. Um, the promise is going to make him, from him is going to come a great nation. And this is a promise to make his name great so that he will be a blessing. So we see all of that. So these go through all. That's why I'm talking about the Father, because this is where this started with the blessings. And remember, in the beginning it was blessed, and then he wiped it out, and then here we go. He's restoring, he's rebuilding, he's restructuring everything. He's doing it different. God is, as we see, he started over with a different kind of plan. Now this second go round from the original plan, and so, but it's basically the same plan. Be fruitful and multiply. Although there is some other things that I believe, because I believe they did in Noah's, there was some different things. Mind you, when I look at Abram, at the time he was an older dude, he had his wife, they didn't have any children. He was wealthy, but he was told to leave his family and go somewhere else, which I'm quite sure that was, something for him to have to accept and do, when it comes to God, and believe in it, more than anything, that it is God. God said it to him, and that this is what he should do, and have faith in it, to be able to take his wife and family and move them away from his family. Another thing that I see, they said she was very beautiful. There were some things going on even within Abram at the time. Because when he set out to go, that's going out to different lands, chartering out. So this is like a faith walk. I remember the song says your steps are ordered. So basically he blindly is following God, which is faith. Because it's not what he's seeing right now in the natural, okay? But it's actually what God is. Like he's stepping in every step, God is just taking this faith forward. So he told him to look around, and all around, and this is the lands that they're fighting over even to this day, over there from, Israel, who was Jacob and Abraham. This is what they're fighting over. And this people think it's a joke, but it's a spirituality thing, because that's what it originates from. And so he told him to look around, and he would give all the land, his seed and his offspring would be like dust and seeds of sand. It was as many counted numbers, so many great, families would come from his family and nations, which, as we see today, is the be fruitful and multiply, as same as Adam. So he goes out here, his beautiful wife, no army. The land is filled with these other groups of people who are not friendly to them. This is something. But the Lord promised him that those lands that he looked at was going to be his. So obviously, like I said, faith. Famine struck, so it moved them to the land to buy food and water. And this is where, to me, he's tested, because he has to go before these other peoples to buy food, get grain and stuff and water for his family because of the famine. And it's so funny because although he fails the test twice, I believe, in this story, God is still faithful. Boy, I'm on here doing what? So when they get there, I guess he came up with a scheme, and he told the Pharaoh, because she was so beautiful, he was afraid. He's there with his family. He's a foreigner in foreign land buying, grain and stuff for his family. And so he's afraid they were going to kill him because they wanted his wife. So he told her, well, let's just make like we're, siblings instead of husband and wife, which was crazy. It was a crazy scheme he came up with. But then when you look at the customs back then, as the brother, he could refuse proposals made to her. So I guess that's what he was thinking, in his head. But God did not allow it to go this way because the promise is still there, and he had to fix it and clean it up, the mess. Okay, clean up his mess in order to continue to get the promise that was promised. So this is what they did. Went before the Pharaoh and told the Pharaoh that they were siblings. Okay, so the Pharaoh ended up snatching her anyway as a bride. But then what happened is God turned around and he allowed there to be, some, some afflictions, like some type of, I guess like a plague or something to fall on Pharaoh's house. And so he's like, oh, why did you do this, and then he tell her, okay, take her, he let him keep the dowry, and he said, you go. So he sent them on their way, because that's how the truth ended up coming out because of the plague. And Pharaoh's like, why would you do this? Why would you do this? Because you're not supposed to sleep with other people. Why? See, this is how serious it is. People just, but that being Pharaoh and him making it seem like he was her brother. But remember, I guess he was trying to remove any type of he was going to be there and stand in the way if someone did try to marry her, I guess, but it didn't work. So Pharaoh, you got to respect people. He's Pharaoh, whether we like it or not. He's Pharaoh. So it was what it was. So Pharaoh took her and he had to give her back. And being fearful of the Lord, he sent them away. And Abram, he failed at that test, because he didn't have the faith that he should have, that God was going to fix it, even though God fixed it anyway. But God shows himself faithful and mercy, because he knows if the promise is going to come through him, he still has to fix all of these little spots that he's going to fall into. Okay, that's how all things work to the good for them that are called, chosen by the word of the Lord and his promises. So, and for them to love the Lord, but for what's to come. But then he got to prepare him, because, he got to get him ready for all of this. This is the training that he's going to have to go through for all of his next steps in order to make this promise come to pass. So what Abram did was he was at the Bethel, I think it was Bethel Ai, and then he turned around and he met with God there. He made him an altar. That's where God met with him, and he made him an altar. And they communed and they talked, and they, and altars and covenants are very important. And this is why, because these altars and covenants still stand, even though he's been gone a long time. It does not stop it. It still stands. So we have to be when it comes to those things. But what I noticed also was he was a wealthy man. He ended up leaving there and going to Negev, and the land could not support him and Lot. So he went in back to the altar, convened with God. He didn't want any strife between him and his herdsmen with Lot. So at this time, the Canaanites and Perizzites were in the land. And this is after they left from where they were. And he said, well, let's separate. This is him and Lot. And so Lot chose the choice land, thinking that he was getting over because he allowed him to do that. He's like, well, which way, you want to go? And I'll go the opposite. So he gave him the choice, but what happened is Lot ended up taking the land that was closer to, which would eventually be, I guess, in Sodom and Gomorrah. But God didn't like that area, so it's best that he chose that area, even though it was the better watered area for the crops and the livestock. Sometimes the better is not better, because when God is in it, hint, hint, it'll be better. So, but that's where the sinners were. So he got near there, but then he eventually would end up in there. Sodom and Gomorrah, we already know. So, God said to Abram, he told him to look in Canaan, I would give you all this land. And he built another altar to the Lord to worship him. But sin, okay, Lot, because he moved towards Sodom and Gomorrah, so he was close to the sin, but then he ended up being in sin, or living in the city with sin, knowing it was stuff going on. So he ended up being captured by, because these 5 kings, got together and wanted to destroy, Sodom and a bunch of them. And so he was living there, he was comfortable, but he ended up getting captured. And God said, sent someone to let him know, that he was captured. Sent someone to let Abram know he was captured. But he was actually comfortable living there. So I just don't understand. So once Abram heard of it, he went, got 318 men to go help fight to bring him back, and all of Lot's land and possessions. We must pay attention to this too, because a lot of times it's not us ourselves that are blessed. Lot wasn't particularly blessed. He was, but he was blessed because he was with Abram. So we have to pay attention to the people that are in our lives that are actually blessed. And when we're with them, because of Abram's covenant with God, Lot was blessed and protected because of his kinship to him. Not because of him himself, but because Abram had covenant with God. So because Lot was his nephew, God protected him because. So we got to pay attention to that, because a lot of people don't get things confused with that too. So Abram goes, and this is where it gets a little tricky, because this is where the Melchizedek comes in when they defeat them and they take back the possessions and they get Lot. And then this is where he meets Melchizedek, which there has always been mysteries about it. They say it was Jesus, they say it was this. I've been looking it up. I know his name means King of Righteousness, Most High Priest of God. But this is where Abram gave him the 10th, because at the time, Sodom and whoever, was going on with them when they did all of that, when they ended up getting captured, he only went because of Lot. So he went to rescue Lot, get Lot and his family and his possessions back. So because God allowed them to do that, and Melchizedek came out and, blessed them, can have a feast for him, I guess it's like a covenant altar type ritual, and he came out, and so the covenant was entered, the blessing was given, and Abram gave him a 10th, and I think this is where it starts, the 10th, but it was actually of the spoils, because he didn't want to take. He only wanted to take what he had, meaning his family, his stuff. Why? Because Sodom was an evil place, and he told God he would not do it. He would not take them and their people. And even though Sodom was, sitting there, they wanted the people, not possessions, because of their evil wickedness, all of the stuff they were doing. But he said that Melchizedek, Most High, he came out to meet Abram after he won the battle and gave bread and wine. So I guess that's something like the supper. And so that's why he gave him the 10th as an honor, offering. And, because he turned around, he blessed Abram and said, "Blessed be Abram by God Most High, possessor of heaven and earth. Blessed be God Most High, who has delivered your enemies in your hand." Abram gave him a 10th of everything. And the king of Sodom said, "Give me the persons, but take the goods for yourself." And Abraham promised, so he said he would not do that, because he promised God he would only take, what he came there to take, which was Lot and his family and whatever. He didn't want anything else. And then they would say that they made him rich when he was already, So they finished eating and everything to share, the men who went with him. He said he didn't want them to say that they made him rich. But Abram was rich on his own because God made him rich. Another thing with this, I believe it was called King of Salem, Jerusalem. This is where the temple would built, eventually be built. And full, complete, what was peaceful. Full, complete, who's peaceful. So those are the names, I believe, of Mount Melchizedek. It's Salem meant king of, I believe. See, I wrote it down and I'm kind of confused, but for the most part, we see. I'm going to stop here. You can look up, like I said, I was in Genesis chapter 12 and Numbers, some verses you can look up is Numbers 18 and Deuteronomy 12. But we look at people in the Bible, they are rich. They did have money. They were not. Poverty is like a sin. It is like a curse. I am still doing my research on that. I don't want to jump ahead of myself, but because we've gotten to this point, one, we see that Abraham, just like all of us, have sinned, or we, did things that were, out pleasing to God, whether it's fear, doubt, whatever, we were going through at the time, whatever demands or whatever God asked of us, whether it was asking us to step out on faith, asking us to do something different. These things come in our human nature. It will come. But I see how God repaired it. I see how, even though he failed, God blessed him, fixed everything, and he was faithful in spite of Abram. I see how even though Lot got himself into issues with Sodom and Gomorrah, which we already know that is, where sodomy and all of that comes from, which is the gay or same-sex homosexuality culture, which we already know that even in itself, we see already God hates it. We already know this. This is Pride Month. Like I said before, this is the month of men, or our fathers, where we actually celebrate them. So it's kind of weird how all of that falls. The rainbow itself is a symbol of promise from God. Satan takes everything in this world and he changes it around to suit his needs and the people who follow after him. So we have to be careful of these things and know what and why these things are going on. Also, like I said in the beginning, we need our men. Men were made first. Promises, covenants, all these things also came through them because they're the priests first, from God to them. The relationship with them and God is very important because those are the two that need to be there first. Everything comes after. So this Father's Day, with all the men, we love you, we appreciate you, you are very important. I hope that you all are priests of your home. I hope that you all are servants of God or in covenant with God. It's something wonderful happens when men pray, when men have a relationship with God, when he gets everything he needs for his household and priestly duties and rearing his family and decision making from God, because that is the best way to steer and rear your family when it comes to being in leadership. So when we defer from that, this is how we end up with the nonsense we have going on now, with the men are not the head and they're not having a relationship with God, and the women here and they're over the men or whatever it is, and that is not the actual confounds of what God has set out for the world. The devil has done that. We have done that with our choices and our doing what disobedience and doing what we want to do here, instead of doing what God wants us to do, send us to do with our disobedience. And we see what happens with disobedience. We get chastised and everything. So, and I'm not saying we're perfect, but we are work in progress always, and we have to be learning and we're growing and moving forward from the mistakes and the things of life that we see are going on. You can't just know it and just, we're supposed to be livers and doers of the word, not just hearers, So with this being said, this being Father's Day, like I said, these things are so important, that the fathers are the heads, they are the priests. Number one, they are in fellowship with God, that he is first in their lives, and that they are in actual fellowship with God, covenant with God. Why? Because that is where the protection, the covering comes in from the natural and the spiritual. It comes in for the household, from the men, from God to the man on down, because that's how the secrets, all the stuff is passed down. Now he speaks to women too, but the natural order is just something that happens when men have a relationship with God, when they pray. I'm hoping, and I'm asking God to pray for all of our men, because we need them. And with homosexuality and all these other things, they're after our men. They've always been after our men, because the men are the head, the protectors, the providers. Without them, there's no covering. They're also the bearers of the seed. They're the ones who bear the seed, meaning give, of the seed. Bearers of the seed, giving the seed out to be fruitful and multiply. So if you want to do anything to stop the seed, you kill off the men, you incarcerate the men, you do all of these things to the men. Why? Because without the men, we're just incubators. We just carry the seed. They're the ones that have the actual seed. So when you see all these things going on with men, and especially when it comes to our men, we must understand something. So we have to pay attention, because all people may argue and say, oh, the Bible. Listen, look at what's going on in this world. And we cannot sit here and say, because it is the man hand, the priest. You notice all these blessings are passed down through the men. Why? Because it's through the seed. And you either bless them or you curse them. And that's us as women and them. But we only magnify and nurture what we're given. So, it depends on what's going on, But this plan is originally for the men to be the head, but more than anything, for them to lead with God as their head, leading them. So they're following God and they're leading their families with them. This is what it's supposed to be all about. So, and they're all fellowshipping with God at the same time. Whether it's the man, the wife, and the children, they're all one along with God. This is the source. This is what we're supposed to be doing. So I hope this blesses someone. For you men out there, we love you. We need you. I have a father. I thank my Father up in heaven, because he's the one that made us all and made everything here. So the more than anything, we have to thank him, praise and worship him. And then we praise and worship, our fathers that are here, that are vessels that we came through. And hopefully, still supposed to honor your mother and father. And that's basically it. No matter what situation it is, we have to honor them. We may not get along with them, we may have issues, but we still have to honor and love them and forgive them. And that's with us, and that's with anyone in this world, That's what we're called and charged to do. But for all you men out there, happy Father's Day. Be blessed. I hope this was a blessing to you guys. When it comes to looking for who you are in this world, what your purpose and assignment is, what you were put here for, God is the best way, because he's the manufacturer. He's the one. He's the creator. There's no one else that's going to tell you who you are besides him in this world. He's the only one know the answers to the questions that you seek. So I ask, and I hope that you would and pray that you would, seek him and the answers that you need. And being a man, being here, knowing yourself, knowing your purpose, how to raise your children, your family, your wives, how to live your life, how to be saved and have salvation. So I just pray that these things, for the men, because tomorrow we'll be, celebrating Father's Day. So I pray that these things for the men, because you are the head and not the tail, and you are supposed to be the leaders. And you have to have instruction, but you need guidance, you need instruction, you have questions. You need to be with God, because he is the one that's going to show you how to handle, and he'll lead. Okay, and you do what you're supposed to do here, while he does everything up there that you aren't capable of. When I say that, meaning leave the things that are for God to God. Because Lazarus can, when it comes to us doing what we can do here, we can roll away the rock, but Jesus has to call Lazarus out of the tomb. Only he can do that. So, and until we're supposed to be able to do that too here. Because he said we'll do many works if we follow him, and not man and not people, and, follow God, follow Jesus, not man, not me, get in your word. I'm just here to share. But be blessed. Happy Father's Day. I'll most likely be with my dad my earthly father tomorrow. I'm celebrating my heavenly father every day. And my earthly father will be, I celebrate him every day too as well. But love you guys. Be blessed. We're bruised and not broken. We're going to get into the next section. I don't know if I'm going to continue where I am. I'm trying to wait on God to see. But this was befitting. To all our men out there, we need y'all. We don't need homosexuals. We don't need, you can't produce babies. You can't do, that's not, no. That's killing off what he told us to do, being fruitful and multiplying. So I hope this blesses you guys. It blessed me. And I am going to figure out, because this spirits thing, I really want to, I'm asking God about it, but I need more information. It may take me some time because I got to look up a lot of stuff. But anyway, we're bruised and not broken. Be blessed. Love you guys. Later. Enjoy your Father's Day and your weekend.